Brain bubbles. Where does a squirrel live? In a burrow. In a hollow. In a nest. In a hollow. Where does a fox live? In a kennel. In a hollow. In a burrow. In a burrow. Where does a bear live? In a den. In a cage. In a shed. In a den. Where does a titmouse live? In a burrow. In a hollow. In a birdhouse. In a birdhouse. Where does a wolf live? In a den. In a forest. In a lair. In a lair. Where does a mole live? In a cage. Underground. In an aquarium. Underground. Where does a hedgehog live? In a hollow. In a burrow. In a birdhouse. In a burrow. Where does a goat live? In a cage. In a shed. In a barn. In a shed. Where does a chicken live? In a shed. In a nest. In a chicken coop. In a chicken coop. Where does a dog live? In a lair. In a kennel. In a burrow. In a kennel. Where does a cat live? In an aquarium. In a nest. In a house. In a house. Where does a cow live? In a barn. In a forest. In a kennel. In a barn. Where does a frog live? In a pond. In a hollow. In a burrow. In a pond. Where does an ant live? In a beehive. In an anthill. In a shed. In an anthill. Where does a bee live? In a nest. In an anthill. In a beehive. In a beehive. Where does a duck live? In a cage. In the water and on the shore. In a kennel. In the water and on the shore. Where does a camel live? In a forest. In a desert. In the mountains. In a desert. Where does a crocodile live? In a pond. In a hollow. In a swamp. In a swamp. Where does a goldfish live? In a pond. In an aquarium. In a bucket. In an aquarium. Where does a pigeon live? In a hollow. In a nest. In an anthill. In a nest. Where is the car parked? In a shed. In a garage. In a tree. In a garage. Where is the tractor parked? In a shed. In a pool. In a bedroom. In a shed. Where is the boat? In a garage. On the water. In the closet. On the water. Where is the fire truck? At the fire station. In the garden. In the bathroom. At the fire station. Where is the airplane? In a hangar. In a shed. In the basement. In a hangar. Where is the baby stroller? In the hallway. In a shed. In the closet. In the hallway. Where is the truck? In the parking lot. In a bedroom. In the storage room. In the parking lot. Where is the tram? In the depot. In a shed. In the store. In the depot. Where is the subway? Underground. On the roof. In the park. Underground. Where is the motorboat? At the dock. In the fridge. In the basement. At the dock. Where is the train? At the station. In the office. In the storage room. At the station. Where is the ambulance? At the hospital. In a pool. In the sandbox. At the hospital. Where is the shirt? In the closet. In the fridge. In the washing machine. In the closet. Where is the book? On the shelf. In the fridge. In the pot. On the shelf. Where is the spoon? In the cupboard. In the kitchen. In the fridge. In the kitchen. Where is the apple? In the fridge. In the closet. In the toy box. In the fridge. Where are the keys? In the desk drawer. In the fridge. In the bag. In the bag. Where is the jacket? In the closet. In the fridge. Under the bed. In the closet. Where is the phone? On the table. In the fridge. In the oven. On the table. Where is the pillow? On the bed. In the closet. In the fridge. On the bed. Where is the chocolate? In the fridge. In the closet. In the toy drawer. In the fridge. Where is the towel? In the bathroom. In the fridge. In the closet. In the bathroom. Where is the watch? On the wrist. In the fridge. In the closet. On the wrist. Where is the toothbrush? In the bathroom. In the fridge. In the kitchen. In the bathroom. Where is the armchair? In the living room. In the fridge. In the closet. In the living room. Where is the plate? In the kitchen. In the fridge. In the buffet. In the buffet. Where are the socks? In the closet. In the pot. In the microwave. In the closet. Where is the notebook? In the backpack. In the fridge. On the floor. In the backpack. Where is the toothpaste? In the bathroom. In the oven. In the shoe cabinet. In the bathroom. Where is the milk? In the fridge. On the couch. In the backpack. In the fridge. Brain bubbles.